The good old bargain basement deal. Everyone's looking for the best deal out there, especially these days with inflation that just seems to be never ending. People looking for the best bang for your buck, even if it means cutting corners with brand names. We often look for something just good enough to get by with. Something like a pair of sunglasses, or a dash camera, or a pair of headphones, or even something like a hard drive, which is exactly what somebody out there did when they didn't quite get what they paid for, to say the least. This came from FarmingdaleObserver.com. A player unscrews his defective hard drive and can hardly believe his eyes. Inside, there's just a cheap memory chip glued in place. And check this thing out. It's a little old school looking memory chip that looks like something that you'd see on a gaming console in the late 70s. I mean, I guess he just got what he paid for, apparently. But yeah, he was trying to fix it, and he opened it up, and it looked like it was weighed down by, I guess that's metal, apparently, according to the article. And I believe it was, a 1 terabyte hard drive. That's supposed to be 1 terabyte, which, I mean, maybe it is. Just judging by it, it doesn't look like it would have an upload-download speed that would be anywhere close to what's realistically out there. But yeah, man, that is just crazy. Anyway, so the user thought he had purchased a 1 terabyte external hard drive about 3 years ago. It was silent, but apparently functional, and it seemed pretty normal until the day the device broke down. Intrigued, he decided to take the case apart. Inside, he was in for a big surprise. There was no magnetic platter, no read arm, the characteristic features of a real hard drive, and that would be a hard disk drive. There's a solid state drive, which is basically what your SD cards are made of, or just even like a memory stick, those memory sticks you can just plug into your USB port. That's a form of solid state memory, as well as the memory that you would find built into your smartphones and even just your small form factor desktop computers. Those are typically solid state drives. But the hard disk drives, those include the more old school variety, like from the 90s, 2000s, even 2010s. I'm sure to this day you could probably still get a PC that has a hard disk drive, but they're a lot heavier, and when you plug them in, especially the external ones, you can definitely hear them spinning up. And if you have an external hard disk drive, one way to be absolutely sure that it is what you bought is after you plug it in, hold it up and kind of move it around slightly to the left, to the right, and you can feel that G-force type of sensation. I can't remember exactly what that is, like centrifugal force or whatever that physics terminology might be. But I don't know. I guess maybe he just wasn't aware of that. But yeah, when you get a hard disk drive, as he believed he did, it's definitely going to make noise. And they don't make a lot of noise, but if you put your ear up to it, you'll hear it clicking and just doing what it does. I mean, those platters, they spin at like 7,000 RPMs. I mean, they're pretty quiet given the speed at which they're spinning, but they still make noise. And it's pretty noticeable, at least the ones that I've had. And I think I've got like 4 of them at this point, which is always a good idea to have a backup hard drive. And I've learned that the hard way. I bought probably 3 separate hard drives over the last 10 years. And one of them I dropped and it broke. Another one, it just died on its own. And actually, I think the last 2 ended up dying on their own. So, I mean, I'm kind of a victim of this, try to get a knockoff to try to save a little bit of money. And then I found out the hard way, that's not really a good idea, especially when you're dealing with something that you're putting your photos, your videos, your precious digital media onto. And since I learned the hard way, I decided to get a backup hard drive and use something more name brand as opposed to something cheap, generic, Chinese made most likely. But yeah, once a month, I back up my hard drive onto a second hard drive that's just an exact copy. That way, if my primary hard drive breaks, more or less, I've got everything that I lost on that hard drive. So yeah, I learned the hard way. So take it from me. If you have an external hard drive that you put everything on, definitely buy a second one. It sucks because it costs like an extra $100 or something, but in the long run, you'll thank me for sure. So anyway, when he opened up the hard drive, he found, instead of those rotating platters, which look like mirrors, they're usually, I think there's like 4 in a stack, like there's 4 of them stacked on top of each other, something like that. But Anyway, he found a low-grade flash memory chip glued in place with hot glue and loosely connected to the USB port. The icing on the cake was that a metal weight had been added to mimic the mass of a real hard drive. This was not a manufacturing defect or factory error. It was a well-honed scam and unfortunately not an isolated one. So several users over on Reddit, they've shared that they have fallen victim to similar schemes, particularly when purchasing online from places such as Amazon. In some cases, the scammers, they'll order real drives and then they'll replace the internal components with a bunch of fake nonsense, and then they'll return the product for a refund. And the platform, such as Amazon, they don't open it. They don't realize that they've messed with the internals, and instead they just put it back on the shelf and they just continue selling it. I mean, I've heard stories from places like Walmart, especially. Like Walmart, it's apparently pretty easy to get away with stuff like that, where you buy something and maybe it won't be an electronic. It might be like a toaster or a table lamp or something. And they take it out and they weigh it down with like gravel or whatever it is that they weigh it down with. And they're counting on the person at the return counter to not open it and inspect it. With regard to electronics, I'm pretty sure it's store policy at this point that they do have to open it up and make sure that it is what it's really supposed to be. But they're not going to take a screwdriver to it and open it up and see if all the internals are present. So, I mean, I could see scammers or fraudsters or whatever you want to call them getting away with that crap these days. So, yeah, that would just really suck, buying something from Walmart and opening it up and be like, what the hell is this? It's just full of gravel in here. I mean, this is supposed to be like a stereo or something, and it's full of nothing. But anyway, this type of fraud cannot be detected by the naked eye. You need to use benchmark tools such as Crystal Disk Info or Blackmagic Disk Speed Test to test the actual performance of a disk. In general, these counterfeits offer much lower storage capacity than advertised and ridiculously low read and write speeds. And that reminds me, this was way back in probably 2006 or 2007. I bought an SD card. You remember those original SD cards that were about like an inch by an inch? They were larger. These days we got those tiny little micro SD cards, but I bought one of those full-sized ones because that's all they sold back then. And it was advertised on eBay as having 17 gigabytes, which was a lot for back then. And I think they sold it for something like 35, maybe $40. So I ended up buying it, and then I put it in my camera, and I was thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. It only says that the capacity is only about 500 photos. I mean, this thing, like by my calculations, it should be storing like 10,000 or something like that. So lo and behold, I plug it into my PC, and I think it was like 1 gigabyte, something like that. So yeah, I got conned, and I don't even think I returned it, to be honest with you. I think I just dealt with it, probably because I was probably going somewhere on vacation or something and just didn't have the time to mess around with it. So yeah, that happened to me one time, long time ago. So this isn't anything new. All this scammer crap, it's been going on since probably the dawn of internet shopping. So let's see. The story is yet another reminder of the importance of immediately testing all new IT equipment, even if it appears to be working properly. And above all, to go for trusted vendors, even if it means paying a little more rather than falling into the trap of the overly tempting bargain. I mean, yeah, you could try that, but there's a lot of stories out there. You could go on to Amazon and buy something and get ripped off. I mean, it happens all the time. So if you've recently bought a cheap external hard drive or any other piece of computer hardware, take a few minutes to check its performance. It could save you, like this unlucky gamer, from discovering too late that your precious backup is resting on a piece of plastic and a bit of hot glue. So yeah, that sucks. I came across that today. This was posted on the 4th, and I actually do have, let me see here. So with regard to Amazon, I did look this up. Yes, fake electronics, particularly those sold through third-party sellers, are a known issue on Amazon. While Amazon has implemented measures to combat counterfeiting, including its Counterfeit Crimes Unit and Project Zero, buyers need to remain vigilant. And they give a few things that you can look for to spot and avoid fake electronics on Amazon, such as checking the seller ratings and reviews. I would push back against that a bit because there are a lot of shady third-party sellers on Amazon who essentially pay for higher reviews, or they'll sell a crap product to somebody and the person will leave a 1-star, and then the seller will reach out to them and say, look, you can keep the item, and I'll give you a refund if you just give me 5-star review. I'll just send your money back right away, and you can just keep it. And more often, I don't know about more often than not, but often people will say, yeah, okay, give me my money back, and then I'll give you 5 stars. And I'm sure some will probably say, haha, sucker, to hell with you. But there are people who will. And yeah, so that's not something to be completely dependent on, in my opinion, with regard to that, because yeah, a lot of shady sellers out there, they try to go out of their way to artificially beef up their rating count up to as close to 5 stars as possible. So anyway, look for fulfilled by Amazon, quote unquote, which also FBA. When a product is sold and fulfilled by Amazon, it's more likely to be genuine. Examine the product listing and packaging. Verify the serial numbers. Be cautious of unusually low prices. Yep, I'm definitely, I've fallen victim to that, but definitely my fault trying to be a cheapskate and cutting corners. And I'll actually show you an example. I just bought something about a week ago where, I knew that I was trying to cut corners. I just didn't realize how bad it was. So anyway, report suspicious products. And what do you do if you receive a fake product on Amazon? Well, first you contact the seller. I don't know if that would really do you a whole lot of good, but you could at least try. I mean, that's the protocol. If you get something you don't like, you're supposed to get a hold of the seller first. And then you file an A to Z guaranteed claim. If the seller is unresponsive or unwilling to help, then you can file an A to Z guarantee claim with Amazon, and they should make it right. And then finally, you can report the counterfeit to Amazon. Trustworthy Shopping at Amazon has a counterfeit crimes unit and can investigate reported fakes. So there you have it. If you shop on Amazon, I know, probably fewer people as the days go on are probably not necessarily shopping Amazon just because inflation, Amazon Prime, it just seems to keep going up and up. And one good way that people can save money, especially with regard to maxing out your credit cards, would be to drop Amazon, especially Amazon Prime. So this is the product that I got about a week ago, and I should have known better. So I bought a 16-piece razor set, and it fit my Gillette Fusion. So I figured, 24 pieces, if it's close to the quality that the original razors are, then maybe I could get like one to last each month, and then I can get by 2 years worth of shaving for like $35, and I'll be all good. But yeah, turns out these razors were absolute crap. I think your standard disposable razors are probably even better quality than these things. And if anybody's familiar with using the Gillette Fusion, it has a single blade up here on the top, so you can flip the razor backwards and you can trim like right underneath your nose or your sideburns and things like that, which these razors didn't have that at all. So that made it even worse. But anyway, so I clicked on this and it says, we're sorry, an error has occurred. Please reload this page to try again. Now, to be fair, I'm not signed in because, I'm just showing this for YouTube purposes. But I did check the listing of the exact item that I bought a week ago, and it's no longer there. It says, we're sorry, we can't find the page. But it does, when I go into my purchase history, it still offers the option for me to return it. So I think I'm going to at least try to. But if I can't figure, like if Amazon pretty much just says, too bad for you, then fine, I get it, because that is my bad. I knew better. I just figured maybe I could just save like a few dollars, because the actual brand, the name brand, are obviously a lot more expensive. I think they had it on here, like 12 refills from Gillette for $40. That's actually not a bad deal, really, being honest. Yeah, I think the 8 one was what I was looking at the time. But I was browsing and I came across that and I was like, God, man, $30 for freaking razors. This is getting ridiculous. And then right underneath that, it had something like this. They had a 24-piece, a 16-piece. And I figured, what the hell? They even offered it on Prime, too. It's just crazy. Offering it through the Prime platform where you can get it fast shipping. But yeah, they're obviously aware of these going on, because clearly you can't buy it, because they're I don't know why they wouldn't just pull this completely from the list of products. But anyway, yeah, but that's pretty much all I got. If you have anything that you got screwed over on, you can feel free to share it down in the comments. I'll read it. I always keep an eye on my comments at least for a couple of weeks after posting a video. So anyway, that's it. See ya.